Yep.
Hi everybody, my name is Nick, and today I'll be refuting Corinne Jimenez's claim that physician-assisted suicide would be favorably beneficial to society. Now, I'll be breaking down why I believe her three secondary claims are inefficient to support that with some of my own counterexamples. Now, the first claim that Corinne makes is that physician-assisted suicide can reduce the high cost of healthcare in America. Now, just blanket statement, straight up, it's unreliable, and that comes from Dr. Emmanuel, MD of the Harvard Medical School, as well as Margaret P. Batten, PhD, in the New England Medical Journal, who both stated that determining the cost of medical care, especially at the end of life, is, and the cost benefits of legalizing physician-assisted suicide would be hard to determine. And it's hard to determine because at the end of life, it's by case, individually for the person, it's very hard to determine that due to the behavior, psychology, and cost, because everybody's different. Someone with colon cancer, their end-of-life care is very different from someone who has a brain tumor. And so it's very hard to determine the exact data to come up with that, to say across the board that, hey, it would most definitely benefit them, because everyone, from a case-by-case basis, even when you round them all up, it's hard to determine. Now, that being said, where researchers can come to some sort of consensus is that, on average, they believe that legalizing physician-assisted suicide could potentially save $627 million, which Corinne did make the statement for. However, that's nothing. Ultimately, that comes down to less than 0.07% of the total U.S. healthcare expenditures, and that comes from the U.S. National Healthcare Services. And in the words of Dr. Ezekiel J. Emmanuel, the same physician from the same article, he says essentially it's not a money winner. When he's specifically speaking about physician-assisted suicide, it's not a money winner. From the system standpoint, the financial advantages are minimal to non-existent. And you can see that with $627 million is a drop in the bucket, it's a penny, compared to the entire health expenditures that we spend yearly. Now, the second point that she makes is that vital organs can be used to save and help other patients. Now, this may be true. We do this every single day with people donating. However, this does not provide significant benefits to society, especially when you consider physician-assisted suicide helping with that. Now, what I mean is that no one can precisely know how many Americans would choose to opt out to physician-assisted suicide and to as well donate simultaneously. So researchers have come to the best consensus they possibly can, which is comparing to the Netherlands, which has legalized physician-assisted suicide. And of the Netherlands residents, only 2.7%, so roughly if we equate that to Americans, that'd be about 62,000 Americans, would actually opt out for not only donation, but physician-assisted suicide. And now, despite this, though, 45% of Americans are registered to be organ donors, yet we still have 123,000 people every single year that don't have organs, and that comes straight from Donate for Life. Now, from the same organization, in their 2015 report, California, which that same year had just become legalized for physician-assisted suicide, the total donor designation, which is the number of people who register to be organ donors, was 12,848,629. Now, to just give you an idea of what that compares to, in California that year, we had 38.8 million California residents. So, we have that percentage of 12 million plus. Yet, the people that only stayed on that list was a mere 30%. So from that year, from the beginning of that year to the end, only 30% of that 12 million actually stayed donors. And this is only an increase of 2% from the year prior, but it's a decrease of 7% from 2 years prior. Now, despite having 5 states legalized for physician-assisted suicide, that's Washington, Oregon, California, Vermont, New Mexico, so essentially the West Coast, we still only had, in the 2016 report given by the Organ Procedure and Transplant Network, of that total, we still only had 33,597 total donations and transplants made. So that's, you would think with the entire West Coast essentially being opted up for physician-assisted suicide, that number would spike up, but it doesn't. We still only have not even the population of California donating. And the final point that she made was that physician-assisted suicide eliminates the suffering and maintains one's dignity. Now, I'm not going to argue against that. However, I will go to the terminology. She says to eliminate, so to benefit society in a whole, to eliminate, and that just isn't the case, as it may reduce suffering, But it would not eliminate suffering, as when we compare it to the Netherlands, on average, the citizens in the Netherlands who do opt out for this procedure, it's about 3.3 weeks less than what they would actually die. So it's less than a month of when, if they were to not opt out for physician-assisted suicide, where they would still be alive. But they cut it short by about 3.5 weeks. And that frankly doesn't eliminate suffering. It reduces it, yes, because people, if they were to continue for the rest of that month, they may be in pain, but it does not eliminate, as Corinne specifically says, and to benefit society as a whole. I would think elimination as to end suffering completely would be great, but that's simply not the case. So in conclusion, I believe that while I'm not going to go against Corinne, because I believe that if this is a claim of policy or of value or ethically, yes, I do think that people should have the right to choose to end their own suffering. That being said, to go as far as Corinne's claim that it would benefit society as a whole by legalizing physician-assisted suicide, I don't agree, and through the points I gave of the counter arguments for her claims. Thank you very much.
All right, Nick, most of your argument is an attempt to diminish the significance of the advocate's claims without necessarily denying them, which is perfectly fine and legitimate. However, you do want to be careful with the exit line, because you may have diminished the reason to see this as being important in this particular context, but you elevate it a little bit in the notion of other contexts, and I'm not sure that that's a good exit line for you. On the first point concerning decreased healthcare costs, did we have this debate last week? Or this argument last week also on the same issue? Because I swear I've got deja vu like crazy on these two arguments.
It was death penalty, I think, last.
Yeah,
Because it's like the same evidence from the two same people, and then the same evidence with the estimate about what the number is. And I swear I told somebody last week, I said, I think it would work better if you did it in the other order. And that's exactly what you did. Now, that means that you either listened well, or if it was in a different class that somebody did this, you did it the right way. Either one is fine, but I'm just asking, nobody remembers this? Okay. I don't list people's speeches by topic on the YouTube channel, because I now want to go back and look at all the speeches and see which one this was. Because I had that. But I like the way you presented that first point really effectively. No. I didn't say drop in the bucket, but I said pretty close to something like that. I like that. All right. So the organ donation thing, I thought you did a really good job on this. First, showing that organ donations are not going to be changing dramatically, that people already have these options. They're not donating that much. The idea that people would donate, they say that, but they don't necessarily do that. But even when we have these options, we don't have any more significant organ donations in the places that we have these than we have other places. In fact, we still have a substantial number of people who are going without organs. So the notion that this is going to be significant, will there be some? Probably, but is that enough to justify changing our perception on this as being important, or that this is something that's necessary or essential in order to fix this problem? That, I think, is a little sketchy. So I thought that you did a good job kind of pressing on those particular points. On the suffering issue, you kind of say, well, I'm not going to challenge the argument about suffering, but you did. You suggested that not the notion that it eliminates it. I think that that's kind of a press on the language. It doesn't, I don't know, maybe she used the wrong term in saying eliminate it. Although she does eliminate it for 3.5 weeks, that would be the response I'd make. So I do eliminate it for 3.5 weeks, that kind of thing. So that's why it's a semantic game that you're playing there, and I don't think that gets you very much. I think the better argument is that 3.5 weeks out of a terminal illness is not particularly substantial, and there's no demonstration that the last 3.5 weeks of somebody's life is any more painful or problematic than whatever they had going on ahead of time. I don't, did the advocate provide any evidence that says that that's the worst part of what people are going through, or is it just that it's easy emotionally for them to do that kind of thing, but it's got nothing to do with the pain and suffering that people are going through. I think that might have been a good press. And then, like I said, I thought the exit line's a little bit problematic. You say, hey, if this was a policy claim, I'd be all for it. Or if we're making a value judgment, I'm with you. But you know what? That's kind of like saying, I made a bunch of bullshit arguments here because I had to, but I'm on your side. You want to be very careful about doing something like that. I've used the example before of being in the courtroom. If you were a defense attorney and said, hey, I think my client's guilty of sin, and this is a problem, but they didn't prove that case, you're not helping your cause very much with your audience. And remember, you have to do an audience analysis too, and that's the kind of thing that undermines the audience's credibility, perception of you as being credible. All right, thank you.